Super Hits 104.9 WAXI, Rockville, Clinton.
I'll call the meeting to order. Let's take a look at claims right now.
They're big this time, since it kind of covers 2 months.
Goodness.
Yeah, I know. I've been busy. I've been at 40 hours last month.
Is everything on one page?
The blue one, I think, is on the second page has got some stuff on it, I think. It's
Right.
the first time I've ever had to do that. Steve Brock sent this to us, and I didn't know if you had this list or not.
I know how to do that, but yes.
So I thought we might probably have to start a file and.
I'm just not quite sure what it's all gonna lead
Yeah,
up to yet,
I
but,
know. So I was afraid of. So that's why I've started.
yeah.
So I'll try to make sure I get things from you, everything, and make sure that you've got stuff that we have.
Appreciate it.
And that could be a pain if we have to go to every single house and have a list. I'm gonna have to get paid a lot more if we're gonna do that. Of course, the town, well, both of them kind of cover stuff from it that I would normally pay in December, but I didn't want checks out there. That's why we got so many. Nick,
Told you she had a checklist.
how long, I have 2 checks that's been out for over a year. That both parties I've talked to, they said they have been paid. They cashed the checks. They did not clear the bank.
It's usually 180 days that the checks are void.
6 months normally.
Yeah.
But I don't want to necessarily, because of my paperwork tells me that I need to write another check and void those, but they say they're paid, so I don't want to write another
We do a
check.
release of all claims to them if you give me information on who it is. You just want to email that to me. And
Okay.
I can draft a release of claims and they can sign it and then you can put that in your file. That way if we get an
And
audit,
then I can wipe the checks off then.
Yeah. That'd clean it up for the audit purposes anyway, if that's what the concern is.
So, yeah, because I mean, I just don't want to go in there and automatically void the checks out. So.
Yeah, just email me
Okay.
the information on who it is and what
How
the
much?
amount is. And,
Okay.
if you have the check number, what the check
Yeah, I have
number
it,
was.
I have it all that written down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just draft that. If we have a way to get them to sign it, then
I'm sure they will, because like I've been in conversation with both of them.
yeah, we can do that. That'll clean it up for you.
The one says it's signed, or she cashed it, but her filing system is in her console with her vehicle. I'm like,
Yeah, a lot of times with banks I have that, but I mean, nowadays the banking system's a little different than it used to be. So, but
okay.
as far as seeing canceled checks and things.
And since it's been over a year, because they're saying you have to wait so long on the audit stuff information, but it's been long enough now that.
The release of claims will clean it up regardless. I mean,
Okay.
if they're releasing all claims as to that amount due and
Okay.
owing, you're fine audit-wise.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's the only 2 checks.
they
I
couldn't
carried
take you to
over
court even if they wanted to at that
last
point.
year and this year on my report, so.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Just send me whatever info it is.
Okay, under old business, UMAC finished the drain tile on the South Main Street. They got all that hooked up. They compacted as much as they could, but you'll notice a lot of dirt up here in the parking lot. That's kind of on hold now until that settles after some of these early rains. And then they'll go back and should finish that off and then seed it before too late into the spring, so that'll be taken care of. While they were working on that, homeowner Andrew Clarkson came to me and told me of a tile in the back orchard that runs from the main drainage tile under the street and heads straight west down into that ravine. But there were 2 large sinkholes down there. And of course that drain runs right through his property. So I had Ronnie Sr. look at that. I had him go ahead and fix that today. What we have there is some very large bell tiles that are just laid together. They're not fitted or sealed or cemented together. And there were a couple of those were cracked, and that's what was causing the soil to be sucked into that tile. So we'll have another bill on that, but I thought we needed to get that taken care of at the same time. And then there are plans to meet with him later on this week for him to do locates on the no semi signs.
No semi signs?
Signs, yes. My question for you is, where do you think those ought to be placed? I have already planned for anybody coming east or going west from the east on 236. There at the corner, they should see a no semi with an arrow with the line through it, like no turn there. Coming from the north, because semis will come in on 236 or Marshall Road, we need one so they don't go straight ahead. And so we may try to see if we can put it over here on that stop sign. But I'll have him look at that on that stop sign by the corner store.
Will it be noticeable though?
I don't know. It's what's
on the backside of this also?
Yes, on the backside.
Okay.
The problem is between those signs there and this side of the arch, there's nowhere to put it until you put it down here,
And that's
too late.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work with him unless you guys have some other ideas. There's enough signs to do, of course, one at the south end of town. Do you want signs in between? Do you want signs on side streets coming off of 236? So they don't cut around the block, which I don't think they will because they can't make those
I don't
turns.
think they will either because they can't maneuver, I don't think.
Yeah. But I think I bought 5 or 6 signs when I ordered those so that I'd have plenty. So, thoughts?
Just try the 2 signs, right?
Say 2 signs.
And see what happens.
Well, there'll be 3, have to be 3,
Well, we
2
should-
here, 1 down here.
Here.
That way,
Yeah.
and 1 the other end, yes. I'm like you, I mean, they might try to maneuver the turns down there, be like the old boy down there got
Yeah.
stuck, but I don't like.
Well, I don't care how many signs you put up there. There's going to be people go through it. It's not going to. But at least it's there, and Brady can stop them and go ahead and target or ticket them for that. But there's an awful lot of semis that go
So let's
south.
talk about that a minute.
6 a.m.
So you can put a sign up here that says no semis,
one after another.
going south. No semis going south.
Right.
So what about Springbrook Farms and the rest of there all the time?
Yeah.
You can't eliminate everybody going through town, it's a problem.
Well, I mean, are we gonna stop them all going through town?
See, that's the problem, because don't farmers have a right to,
In that ordinance, there's opt out for local traffic where they reside there, or their business is there, things like that, or dairy trucks. I forget what else. There's a carve out for like certain ones, but what they're trying to eliminate is ones that can travel alternate routes.
okay, and that's what I thought, that, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Right.
And I've seen
Yeah.
Springbrook even go to 41 and up
Oh, yeah.
before.
Right.
But those guys that are delivering especially to the lumberyard, and now that cheese factory is gonna open up, we're gonna get more traffic on.
They're supposed to be coming in off 270, I think is what it said, and hitting it and going that way, or whatever that one is that's down there at that second turn. Here.
450 comes in,
450.
yeah.
Okay.
And turn
I
in.
can't remember, but that's the one that's the designated route off of 41. We're supposed to come there and then go up.
And there no sign, no semi sign right there, so you turn off on the Marshall Rock Road.
The county put up no semi
Okay, I
sign.
thought I saw one
Like
there.
anything else, I mean,
But yeah,
just
there-
because you prohibit
And
it.
it's your out of town, it's really your out of town people that's doing
But
it.
they're repetitive, though. They know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah, and well, like Todd
You
said,
won't convince me
you don't,
otherwise.
this corner is kind of hard to make, so he's surprised they really, he won't do it unless some reason something's going on that he has to come that way, because it's just too much of it. Both corners are too blind.
I've talked to the Amish there at the lumberyard more than once, asking them to tell their drivers. They actually have a sign there that they're not supposed to go through Marshall and what the route is. When I talk to them, they say, we tell them, but it doesn't make any difference.
Well, let's look how many times Jackson Bridge got hit because he
Yeah.
didn't pay
No
attention.
kidding, yeah.
I mean, like, okay.
So anyway, we'll get those
Yeah.
signs up and then
We'll go.
still be frustrated, but maybe it will make a difference on some.
The only thing that would really work if somebody really sat there and just ticketed them, and a bunch of them got some decent sized tickets.
Right.
That
Yeah.
would work. The manpower is the issue for the county that way, as far as
Right.
having 2 officers on duty and the amount of they have to cover when they're on duty.
Mhm.
So I mean, if we had an unlimited amount of officers, that'd be.
Well, and my fear is that the load weights that are going through here are in excess of the limits on that county road, and probably are too much for some of these highways, if the truth be told. So I think it's posted now for 11 tons on North Marshall Road from Marshall to 47. I think if you turn off 47, it says 11 tons. And so those semis will be much,
Well, they
Everywhere.
almost way much empty.
yeah.
They're doing it to Rockville too. They're coming down the Anderson Street and trying to make that windy turn by Rockville to go down through Rockville Lake, and they get stuck in people's yards and stuff there too. So I mean, it's
Yeah. And I
They're
know,
following GPSs too. Some of them won't deviate from a GPS.
you know, I'm glad the businesses are here. I'm glad that they are moving a lot of product through there. But we're not going to be able to recoup any money to pay for redoing this in 5 years.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's a real problem, yeah. So anyway, those will be going up then. Lighting for this room, and in addition, the kitchen, bathroom, the bay over at the town office, changing the tubes in Kathy's office to LED tubes from fluorescent, and then 3 dusk to dawn fixtures is what you have before you in this quote.
I was gonna ask, where the dust and dawn pictures? I don't know, you guys told me the other day, I can't remember.
One will go here where these 2 big spotlights are.
Right.
One on the front over the big overhead door over to
The old firehouse.
old firehouse, and one out this way.
Okay.
There's already a fixture there for 2 of those, so it'll just go on to those.
When you say out this way, you mean on the town office or?
On the town office, just to the north of Kathy's door,
Okay. So
all the
that
way up
there's
there
something
on the
right there.
fascia, yes. And that will provide security, it'll provide her security.
That's what I was wondering,
Yeah.
some kind of a light.
So what you have here in this quote will cover all of those areas. Now, working with REMC, who also put me in touch with Kirby Risk, because that's the fixtures that you can get the rebate on. Total cost of what you have before you is $2,049.35. That's without the rebate. Working with Kirby Risk and REMC, we've determined that our rebate will be $993. So for $2,049.35 worth of lights, it's going to cost $1,056.35. So almost 50%.
Right. Plus, what's the savings gonna be for the town? I mean, when we end up, when we use these kind of lights, with our electric bill,
It sure will, yes.
so we should be able to recoup some of that back.
We should recoup some. These aren't buildings that are used 8-10 hours every day, but yeah, it will make a difference, for sure. So, we had a quote from Brian Nelson to put the lights in here, and he quoted it, and we talked about it at one meeting, and it was $450 to replace these for labor. Talked to him this evening, and because I had told him what we were trying to do here and get the lights, he'll do everything for $750 with the labor.
So all the extras.
All the extras and what, this room, everything included for labor is $750.
So our rebate's gonna pay for the labor then.
Oh, yes, for sure. And the fixtures that we're talking about here, the reason they only rebuild these fixtures is because the quality is superior to anything you're getting, say, at a box store, by far.
I guarantee it.
Yeah. He said you can see 40 years out of these fixtures.
Well,
So,
the only other question is, I looked through this, because they're telling you, 2 to 4 week lead time, 2 to 4 week lead time.
yeah.
All for 200 amp switch breaker.
Uh,
2 months, I was in there Friday. They don't know about amperes yet.
He told me they had these in stock.
Some they do. I read right. That's stock right here, vendor stock.
Okay.
I read right here 2 to 4 week lead time, 2 to 4 week lead time.
Yeah.
Even though it says vendor stock.
Well,
So what I'm trying to tell you, you might want to nail them down on it just a little bit.
When I talked to him, the last I talked to him, he said, because I asked him what delivery would be, he said, don't worry about it, we've got these ready to ship, we've got them in stock. And that was about a week ago.
Because the inspector from Montgomery County every 2 months to put a disconnect between the meter and this generator transfer switch out there.
Yeah,
I can't even get it.
right,
So I got to come back and see what we're going to do about that. So
okay.
I just thought I might bring that up. I didn't want that to be, I didn't want this to be an ongoing thing, 6, 8, 10 months, something
Sure,
like that.
yeah,
If they got a stock, I think that's great. I'm all for it. I mean,
Okay.
one of my opinion, I'm all for it.
well, we basically approved to do this room, but now I'm asking that you approve to do the entire package at once, and then I can get on the phone tomorrow and tell him to get them shipped.
I think it's a good
You
idea.
have a motion
to do it all.
on that?
Yeah, I can make a motion, we move forward, to go ahead and just redo all lighting,
Use Brian Nelson.
and Brian Nelson.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to go ahead and do the lighting package and the labor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The last bit of old business that I have is just bring you up to date the best I can on the wastewater project. We've started having more frequent meetings with it. We had an all-day meeting about a week or two ago, and from that meeting, we were able to talk about the groups and the package, what it should look like, and where we're going to head. And so our individual meetings from this point on is based on what came out of that, the decisions that the group made. The things that we're looking at is, well, the first thing was governance. How do we structure this? Who's in charge of this? Somebody's got to make the call, and somebody's got to be the go-to. So that was a big topic, and we're still not there on that. We talked about funding and all of the agencies that are involved in the funding packages, and determining, are we going to go after that funding for every agency? And each one of them carries extra, because they don't ask for all the same things. So that was a topic that we've talked about. We've talked about, the third one was support and education, so that what the public is going to hear is exactly what is going on, rather than the pipeline of misinformation. And so that's the third thing. We met on that last week from a lady that does the work out of Wessler. That's her job, is to reach out into the community and inform and help educate. And so we've got some ideas for that to come about. But just to let you know, the work is moving forward. Again, nothing is in concrete, there's not been a dime spent of anybody, town's money. We're just in that phase where we're looking forward. The PER for this project is to be completed before April 1st.
Okay.
So they're on a tight deadline to get that completed. The exciting thing that's come out of this is the number of agencies, the number of people that are partnering up on this. And I've got just a brief list here. RCAP, Rural Development, SRF, DNR, Thurber and Brock, which is Steve Brock's company, Partnership Park County Commissioners with Jim Meese, USDA, Wessler, and Roger Azar, who is the engineer for Rockville. And I don't think he actually works for Deckard, but his email is Deckard.
They have two different parts to Deckard now, and I'm not sure how they frame that, but he's affiliated, if not working for them.
Okay. Yeah.
They've branched off their services in some manner. But
So he and Wessler are working very closely because he knows Rockville system and he's worked on that part of it. So that's a lot of agencies, and with a lot of agencies, there's a lot of questions and a lot of hoops to jump through, and that. But the good thing is there's a lot of positive comments coming from this group.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes.
Just
Those-
the fact that many joining is making it sound like the word's getting out, so more people's kind of.
Right. Yeah. So the cost being whatever it's going to be may be shared among more than one agency, just like our water project was. So that may give the group a little more freedom here and not have to cut back on things that are a necessity here. If you want to know anything in particular, just, hey, please let me know. The notes that I have, most of it comes directly back from Wessler as they send out, and I'll be glad to share those with you if you want to. Most of it's just statements. So there's nothing there that I would say, oh, this is definitive, this is what's going to happen. We've talked about the routes that it might take, the types of piping and things that are coming, like from the park, school, Marshall, Bloomingdale, Rockville, and especially there's a lot of comments and thought about how Rockville would be able to handle the amount of flow, extra flow coming in here, and that's a piece of that engineering that Roger Azar is working with. But yeah, there's a lot of good pieces, but the one thing I want you to know, the three town board presidents working together has been a real positive. It's just something that growing up, that's Rockville, you don't talk to Rockville, but it's been really good. And so we're going to continue to move forward with that. But anything you want to know, just feel free to ask, and I'll get you what I have on it.
So they're gonna be able to get this wrote up in time for the April due date, the PER?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know there was something would hold it up prior to that or anything. If there's a question they'd have to come up with, to figure an answer out for the PER, so I'm driving that. Because it's a short timeline on that.
It's a short time. That's why we have several meetings that are lined up. Some are Zoom type meetings, others are in-person meetings. Some people join, via Zoom. So it's pretty good the way that it's laid out and the way it's running. So that's a credit to the engineer and the way that they're working this.
Together.
Yeah. But it's been positive thus far.
And they're because Wessler's going to give us some different options. So not just necessarily saying we're going to take it to Rockville. We're going to have an idea of what the best.
Yeah. They're looking at two options.
Right.
One we already have,
Right.
the one our PER our PER has already been submitted,
Right.
And they told Wessler, just leave it here, leave it submitted, and continue on with your discussion. So we really have two projects for our benefit in at the same time, or will have.
Okay.
And then as they talk about the funding and the funding cycles, those are different funding cycles. And so the targets are out there that for them to hit, and it's going to be real tight on some of those, I believe, some of those dates. Any questions, anything?
So, let me get back something. So you said DNR in one of
Mm-hmm.
the partnerships, I guess. Is this a state level or is this a local level DNR we're talking about?
This is the director of DNR, the state, yeah.
But he didn't ever get involved really last time,
That's right.
Yeah.
so
That's why I was asking that.
And DNR is not, the three town board presidents make up the decision making right now. And we take our advice from the attorney, from the, Wessler, from whomever, the funding agencies. But DNR is not one of those three. They are there at the table because they want out of the sewer business, and they just want to be heard, and they want to hear what's going on because they have a big interest in that. So I think the last meeting probably had, I don't think you were
I wasn't
on
able
that,
to
but
do
probably
that.
had at least a dozen or more people either sitting around the table and or zoomed in, and it was pretty impressive, the number of people that have an interest right now.
that's good.
Yeah. So before any misinformation gets out, I want to get exactly what's happening. People have a right to know, and we want to tell them that as soon as we know something. We just don't know anything yet until we get this PEO.
Yeah, I think we need to be transparent about it.
I agree with you.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what we're doing up front with the lady from Wessler, is so the public knows what's going on, and they can ask those questions, and they can find resources that are out there.
When is that kind of stuff going to be available? We wait till after the PDA?
No. It's hoped that information will start probably, I would say maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now.
Okay.
At the most. We don't want to be behind the project. We want to be in front of it
Right.
with information. So that's why we're wanting that out there just as soon as we can. And there's things we don't know.
Are you guys going to end up doing some kind of a website or something where they can go get the information, find it?
Right now, that's the plan, to establish a website, a
Okay.
depository of all that information.
Right.
The worst thing, in my opinion, they can ask Dale, and he'll give, here's what I think it is, and then they ask you, and you say, well, no, I think it's this.
That's what I was.
And we want to avoid that, and with all the entities, we want the same story coming out, the true story, and that's what we're trying to.
And it helps if you have the documentation there that supports exactly what everybody's saying.
Yes.
That way, if I had a question, or if Bloomingdale, somebody had a question, gave a different story, now it's right here.
Right, yeah. So that's in the planning, and the lady there from Westwood, she's got a lot of good ideas. She's worked for large communities, and of course, we're not a large community in any fashion, so some of those things just won't necessarily work, but maybe we can do a spin-off on some of those and involve the public as much as we can.
What kind of effect is this going to have on the schools? Do they even know yet?
Well, the school will be a customer, we're led to believe, because they are a customer of DNR now.
Right.
So my understanding from the planning right now is that the school just becomes a customer,
Okay.
which they are, but they won't be a customer of DNR, they'll be a customer of the wastewater treatment entity, whatever that's going to look like. Anything else?
No, sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds positive.
Yeah, it does. Steve Brock has promised to have our water rate study done
Yeah.
soon?
It was supposed to have been within a week.
I thought last time we were gonna be within a week.
Yeah.
Well, when I sent it
I
to
mean, the
him,
last meeting.
well, I got the pay information from him on Thursday night, a week ago. You get it to me, I'll have it to you within a week. I said, well, I was uptown all day Thursday. I said, I'm not gonna be up there till next week, so I sent it Monday, thinking that gives him a week. Here it is Tuesday.
He's,
So we don't have it for you, then.
we don't have it yet.
There you go.
He didn't know he was coming on board on this wastewater treatment either, and that, I would say it takes priority. That's just another thing on his plate.
Yeah.
I think we need that information from him sooner than later, and I bugged him a number of times, phone calls, in person, and so I think we'll get it. I just don't know if it's gonna be this week or next. Anything else? Old business. New business, I thought corner store people were going to be here. They had some questions. So I won't go forward with that, what they had asked me about. We need a new vacuum for the town office. That vacuum that Kathy has over there, we turned it on and it looked
It
like.
made a noise, she didn't know what it was.
Oh, no, it's not a noise, that's, as much dust as goes in, goes right back out.
It's just a cloud wherever that vacuum is at.
I thought she didn't recognize that, a vacuum work.
We're relocating the dust.
That's it. I think it came from this building.
Yeah.
When that one was purchased, I think this one moved over there.
You can get one of those robot ones that you don't have to even be around when
I
it does
just
it.
think it was the dumbest
Bumps
thing.
into everything.
And my daughter has one, but I'm like, oh my gosh,
So
I
I-
love mine.
I think y'all got one.
Oh, we have two. Yeah, they're great. Cats and dogs don't like them.
We need to do something there. We were having Deb Mitchell do it, but it doesn't need a full-time scheduled cleaning like this building does. And so, a new vacuum, I would say we will do it under $300. You agree?
I'd say somewhere between $300 and $400 mark.
I said, I haven't looked
Yeah.
at vacuums in a while, but I would think. You said Jan, what's that one Jan found?
She found it on sale for like $200.
Okay.
A Shark, it was regularly
Shark,
$300.
I still recommend Shark. Everything we got is Shark, and it's tremendous.
We've got
Yeah.
one, and I can't believe it.
I mean, you can't believe how much there's in that. Have we got a Shark iron?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Who has an iron nowadays?
my wife irons every morning.
Oh, Sharon Harmon does.
Every morning.
So I would ask that you allow Kathy or I, whichever, to go ahead and purchase one for the town, not to exceed whatever that dollar is.
We missed all the Black Friday specials.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get President's Day.
You have to go camp out in the parking lot and wait for the doors to open.
Yeah, I just saw it on TV today, President's Day sales,
and
so.
save $50.
Look on Amazon.
So somebody would like to make a motion on that with a maybe not to exceed number?
Well, let's talk about that just a minute before we.
You go right ahead.
So if we put a number out there at $300, but you find one with $310, are we going to allow that or not?
I would suggest you put it out there at 400.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest.
Knowing that, I know Kathy is not going to go out and say, oh, I think I can buy the next model up now that I got a few more dollars. I don't think that's gonna
I
happen.
know what the one I bought two of my daughters one, and we had one also. They ran about $360. Where it was.
Okay.
They're about, yeah.
About $360 somewhere.
You
Could be a
want,
little bit more, yeah, but right there.
you want a cordless Shark vacuum? They're
Don't make it too
$320.
good for her.
You can get it on Amazon Prime and it'll be here in 2 days.
Well, Amazon's getting pretty bad. They're about a week anymore. If you're not careful with
Yes,
Amazon
they are.
Prime.
What's today? Tuesday?
You
It'll
didn't
be
put
here
it-
Friday,
You didn't
February
put it in
10th.
Marshall. You probably have Rockville, don't you?
I live on Marshall Road. It's
Well, and if you're at it, you're U47872.
I am.
Yeah, see, it makes a difference.
Yeah. You could get one of those ones that you don't have to be there for $300. They have a Shark one on here. It's the top deal of the day. It's $100. No, it's $200 off. It'll be here Thursday. You wouldn't even have to
Then
be
it would
around.
be confined to my phone, and I don't want it confined to my phone.
So you're finding 400 would cover about it?
Yes, yeah, you could get something real nice. Yeah.
have enough on
Okay.
my phone and
Are you,
battery
uh,
dies on my
are you
days of
okay with that?
repeaters.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, have a motion there then?
We'll make a motion to,
Just hoping my wife doesn't watch this. She's been wanting a new vacuum
Thank
for a
you.
while.
Second?
Second.
A motion and a second for vacuum to be purchased for the town office not to exceed $400. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Kathy.
That's your next.
I don't see Todd getting over at your house.
Right.
Question about mowing contract. Are we close to that point in time, or you want to wait 30 days?
No, I better do it,
Okay.
because if I have my surgery, I'll be out the latter half of March, so I'll have it for,
When you gonna have surgery?
I'm hoping after our March meeting that the next Tuesday
I have surgery February 22nd,
is what I'm hoping. I go next Wednesday, so I'll talk to Steve about getting it for a March meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
That is all I have.
And I don't know, does anybody else know of anybody to contact? I don't know who to contact to get it, I mean, he's done it, but.
Just the Jeffers boys, the only one. that-
Billy Bettis.
Yeah.
That's
probably.
Is he back out doing it again?
Oh, yeah,
That's what I
no,
heard,
he's been
yeah.
doing it for a while.
Who's that?
Yeah, but he cut way
Billy
back.
Bettis.
Yeah, he's back out.
He wears so many hats. Like he's got a lot of different.
He's a slumlord, and
Mike
he's
Stone,
a,
most
yeah,
of
he
Stone
does a
wears
lot.
stuff.
He got away from the landscaping for a while.
Yeah.
You know,
and then-
he might be one you want to contact, you know, he's local.
Who's Billy?
Mike Stone, Big Mike.
Didn't the cemetery has him, but then.
Yes, he does the cemetery.
Did he use?
He mows the preacher's yard across from me, it was a lot of them.
I don't
He was out there
remember.
repairing
Yeah.
stuff, there's the
I know who he is,
antique shop.
but I know he used to at the town, but I thought they had problems with him.
There was something there, I don't know what it was.
You put your feelers out.
Which
I
I.
mean, we've always asked for people to submit
Yeah.
So,
in the paper, and they've all had.
yeah, I put it in the paper is what I mean, I talked to Steve, but yeah, I put it in the paper before and nobody would apply.
Right.
Steve's done a good job for us.
So,
I think he has.
yeah, I mean, I've not had problems with him, and he's taken anything I've said to heart to. We've got that fixed.
I would definitely put it out there.
Okay.
Just ask for people to at least get a hold of you if they have questions, but
Okay.
that's good. What else do you have?
I got something. It's more for you.
Uh,
We had a meeting with Grady.
okay.
We're talking about writing citations for ordinance violations. And some he's written more than once. And I know you're a man of many hats too, and different town boards and all this.
Yeah.
But if he's writing these citations for ordinances and they're going to you, and we don't see them move on.
So I have an update on the ones I have received. I haven't received anything since, when did this one come in? May 31st of 2022. So,
I mean, I guess it's probably a question.
so if he's
You
done
know, we
ones,
talk to him, and I really like stuff, I wanna see where we're at, these doggone ordinance citations.
so this is the most recent one I have is May 31st of 2022. The ones I have pending are the one down here at the corner, which I'll update you guys on. Rex Franklin, the small claims with Stanley, or
Right.
Staley we talked about, the Kings. There was 148 West Park Avenue, which was the Kramers, and there's Houston, are the ones I'm aware of.
Okay.
So if there are other ones,
Let's take the ones you're aware of.
if there are other ones, I haven't received anything on.
So are we not put them into the court system yet then?
They are in the court system. Brady just doesn't play a role in that because he doesn't attend the hearings on it. The Carver one, we had a hearing. He's in the middle of a lawsuit with who is buying the property from him on contract. They came to that meeting we were at.
Right.
He can't get them to comply with our ordinance, so he's filing suit on them to foreclose his contract to try to move them out of the house, is what is going on with that particular property.
And that's one thing I was leading up to, was that situation right there.
Yeah, so that's a messy one. It's messier than most. But it's not the person that owns the property, it's the people that are buying it on contract that are violating the ordinance. He's willing to comply, but what I told him is that he has to force them to comply. So he's hiring an attorney, or has hired an attorney, to try to foreclose the contract and get them out of there. So they did get cited criminally for having a pig running at large also. So, but that's the status on that one. We do have it pending, but he's not the problem. It's his people that are in there. So what I told him is that by our next court date, he needs to be able to show me what he's doing to solve the problem.
Carver or the people living there?
Carver's who we filed on because he actually owns the property. They haven't fulfilled their contract, so they're not the property owners yet. Now, one thing I did talk to him about is that with your blessing, I can file on them too, and I'll just have it all set for the same day, and we can talk it out in front of the judge. But our statute is such that, in my opinion, it's Carver that we can
That's
go
what I
after.
thought, have to be the property owner.
Right.
Because it's their responsibility.
Correct. And he's the one that owns it still.
Yeah.
But what he's telling me is he's filing suit to have his contract foreclosed and then removed from the property, is what I've been told. So.
She got married the other day.
So if he does that and they're out of there, that would solve that solution. But it's not him that's doing it. For what it's worth, I don't think he's lying about that. So I gave him a little bit of time to get that done because they have to have a court date to do that. The Kings, I haven't been by to see if it's better. It was filed. I talked with them. They said that they were getting the people that were in there out of there and it would be in better shape.
And the two,
See, I don't have a way of knowing if they're actually doing it or not because I haven't talked to Brady, but that's what Emmanuel and Fanny are telling me is that the people are out and it should be in better shape.
yeah, and their two little sheds are gone. The problem with that property is, though, you drive by there and the front door's wide open because nothing is secure on the property, and that's an Amish issue. That's
Okay.
their,
But as far as what we cited them for,
that's all gone and cleaned up. The pigs are gone,
Because
everything is
Yeah,
gone.
that's,
there were two of them I wanted to ask about. 48 West Park Avenue is the other one I wanted to ask about. I haven't been by it, but I talked to the homeowner on it today, and he says as far as he understood, it was resolved and he's good now. And he said if I'm not, you need to tell me what else I need to do.
Is that the Kramer property?
Yeah, that's Kramer.
I thought there was a trailer that was sitting there without the plates for
I don't go
still.
up that way, so I don't.
Because there was a semi that was right in front, and there was that trailer. That, they got that, and then they were supposed to do something with the trailer, and they hadn't.
I don't go by these properties on a regular basis. So those two properties are telling me they've resolved their issues and they want to know from us what else they need to do. So
if indeed there's an abandoned semi there, it needs to be
I'm
moved.
saying, we need to look and see
A
what's
trailer.
there.
Is it
Semi-trailer.
is it just a trailer?
It's just a trailer.
It's been there for years. They've both been there and never moved it.
but that's
Yeah,
what
there's
those
a
two
car
property
lot.
owners said. Tell us what else we need to do. We think we've done everything. So if Brady can tell me what else he wants done, or somebody else knows where this is and can tell me what else they want done,
Okay.
I can get that solved on those two. Houston is being set the same day as the small claims case. It's drafted. It's being filed along with it. So we'll have a court date on him. That one was an oversight on my part. I didn't realize we didn't have something done on it until she said something last meeting. And so then I went back and looked at it, and yeah, we have something, and it's going to be filed. It's not filed yet, though. Franklin's filed. I've been in contact with their heir. Said they're working on things, but they're not moving very quickly, as I understand it. So,
Which one's that? Franklin?
out east of town, or east.
And he's a bulldozer.
Right. So,
I'm sorry. You're right, there's not moving fast at all.
right. And these things don't have a lot of teeth to them. I can find them is the most I can do. So that one might be one that we just go in front of the judge and say, hey, issue a fine. But that's just the judgment on the property. It doesn't clean the
Yes.
property up. So, barring the town wanting to hire somebody to go in there and doze all of that, there's not really. I can put liens on the property through this, basically, is what I'm able to do.
And And that's what we have on the building across the street.
Right, we have a
We had two of them,
Yeah, it's like $5
and you can
grand
see
or
it never
something.
got anywhere.
You have to get a judgment such that it's more than half of what the value of the property is before you can foreclose your lien on the property.
That's right.
Is what the problem is. So it's not
I don't think it'd be a problem down in Franklin's.
right. I mean, I can just keep running. We did that for the county. There was one out there off of Cook Road that he got fined $2,500 about once every 45 days, and we were at the point where he owed us $13,000. And the property,
Right there too.
the property burnt down.
Have
So
you drove by there? It looks better.
I have not, but I did
My
drive.
nephew owns that.
I did drive through the area when it was burning and said
My
a couple
nephew
things.
cleaned that
So,
up.
but
He had an in-ground swimming pool there. He dumped those travel trailers there and set them on fire.
yeah, I mean, I hear it looks great, and it's
Yeah.
you know,
Nobody called the cops or the police department. I was glad to see it cleaned up.
but we weren't anywhere near even be able to foreclose our lien on it.
Right.
So if you don't care if you have liens on your property,
Well, a lot of people doesn't bother they got liens on property. Some people, it would kill you that.
oh yeah, first thing I got a letter. First thing I'd be out there. Just, but
It doesn't bother a lot.
so I think two of them are resolved, unless somebody can tell me something, which would be the Amish, the Kings, and then Park Avenue. Houston's pending. Franklin, I guess we'll just go to court and get some fines on them, unless you want me to ask the judge for permission to hire somebody to privately clean it up. I mean, he has the capacity to order that.
And then we pay for it, right?
Then you have to pay for it, and then you're not ever going to collect it.
Well, I
either.
guess that's like too, Nick. I mean, if you hurt somebody's bill for enough,
You're not gonna hurt her is the problem.
they would stop after a while,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, $2,500 as a lien on property. I think that's a substantial amount, but
Especially if you're trying to end up and trying to fix it. It's like,
they moved this building over here twice, sold it twice with liens on it, and the people just bought it for cash and didn't get title searches done. So it didn't slow them down a bit.
But you can buy property and lien on it, though.
Right, it's just not good business.
I bought one lien on it.
Yeah, well, if you negotiate into your purchase price.
And believe it or not, that boy came through and paid it too. I couldn't
Huh.
believe it. I was ready that day before we got paid it, and found out through the court.
Are you finding the paper trail from the officer through our office, whatever we do to you, is it,
I wish he'd
Is it
just,
complicated
if he
or-
would just email them straight to me, that'd be ideal for me.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're really driving at, you know, how can we figure out where we're.
I would
touching
love
base
to,
here
if
and touching base here.
because he likes to drop them off at the office. I told him he can just email them to me. If he would just email them to me, that'd be much better.
And didn't we say that when we talked to Jeff, didn't Jeff say that's what he did, that he hooked up to the Wi-Fi and emailed him? Did Jeff use
Yeah,
email too?
Jeff was emailing them to
Yeah, see?
me. But these were dropped off at my office, and I wasn't there the day they were, so they ended up in a file that was on my desk. That you know, but that was.
we've
Park
asked
Avenue.
for.
But yeah, those were in May. So
We've asked for a meeting, the officer and Kathy, and then I'll probably be there,
okay.
just so we define that paper trail and how it's supposed to work.
So as I see it, there's 6 pending, 2 resolved, 4 that we're still working on. The corner, Rex Franklin, Houston. 3 we're working on. 2 being resolved.
well, the one at Park was supposed to be the trailer and the semi both.
And I don't know if they've done anything or not. I haven't been by.
They
it.
have, the trailer's
Semi's
still there.
the
The
trailer's
trailer is there, the semi's gone. They just
Trailer.
There's a
never
box
did-
trailer and
it's
there's a
box
car hauler.
Box
on the
trailer
south end of the
and
dock.
car hauler need moved. Okay.
I mean, I guess if you want to move, I mean, I don't know why, I mean. the
He
one- the car
asked me
hauler's
what
not
else he
in
needs
anybody's
to
way.
The car hauler's not, yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
down
not,
in the
it's
box.
down and it's a regular.
Eventually that box trailer's gonna fall, I
It's
mean.
been there a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna eventually
It's right
go
out front, the
through.
box trailer.
I mean, I can tell him whatever you want me to tell him. He asked what
Because
else.
I
should do.
thought they knew that because Harp Riders were supposed to come and get it.
The
Yeah.
box trailer.
He never did.
So here's what was written up on it. It said overgrown vegetation likely to harbor rats, vermin, and other nuisances causing detriment to the neighbors. Accumulation and storage for unreasonable times is wrecked, dismantled, inoperative trailers, campers, and boats, and maintenance of the premises out of harmony with the surrounding properties is what he wrote up. So,
You see, they started mowing it because they got that
Robot.
robot mower out there. So
okay.
they got it mowed.
So he needs to move
There's
a
that semi-trailer,
Yeah.
semi-trailer,
Box trailer out front.
box trailer.
And
box
they,
trailer,
And like I said, they know that because Hark Riders are supposed to come and get it.
All right. So it's just the box trailer needs moved. There's nothing else.
It's a little like 20-foot box trailer.
Because they moved the car hauler, like you said, over in the.
It's been over there since
Okay.
it come in.
Okay.
Yeah, because I literally talked to him this afternoon and said that, where are we at on this? And that's what he said back. And then I've talked to Carver about 4 different times. Finally, we gave him a little bit of legal advice on what he could do, is that he could foreclose his contract. And that's the route he's going to take.
Okay.
But I don't have a good solution for the Franklin situation, to be honest with you. Barring, somebody else footing a bill to clean up the property. I can put liens on it.
Now, the Houston property down here, it's basically just to be tore down. I mean,
And that's what Houston told me. He was gonna tear it down.
It's beyond.
Right. Well,
That's
the
what
thing
they
about
say.
him is when I file things on him, he usually reaches out to me.
Yeah.
So I think I'll probably end up having a conversation with him at some point, because we had another case with him at one point for something else.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think there's only 3. As soon as Kramer resolves his trailer issue anyway, there'll only be 3 that are pending to my knowledge. So if there's more than that, I've not received anything.
I don't even think else over there. I don't, we just talked that night, I kind of thought, he's telling me he's putting these citations out, and he's not hearing anything what's happening to him, we're not hearing what's really happening to him.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of knowledge, I guess.
Well, there's 3 pending. But if he's put out other ones, I'm not
Well, I'm
aware
not
of.
saying put out other, I'm just telling you, the ones he had written up, I guess, from my understanding was he hadn't heard what the end result was, of that had been pursued or what.
Yeah, they have been, and usually what I'll do is I'll talk with them when I initially file it. If they don't resolve it within 30 days, we usually go in front of the judge and ask for a lien. So
And there again, if I had the copy like I did with Jeff, I would know what's been filed.
Right, that's
And I would
it.
say,
See, we
yes,
don't-
it's been filed, here's my copy.
We don't know what's been filed, what's been written up, anything like that, so I'm driving
And
at.
I thought that's what we ended up having those sheets printed out, was
For
for
Jeff.
that reason.
Yeah, Jeff asked for those, and they're sitting on the counter in there.
these,
There are three carbon, one goes to the
It's
person,
like a
one
white,
goes.
yellow, and pink.
okay. I think Brady's using those because this would come up as something different. This is a copy of a print.
He's not leaving it with me
Oh,
like Jeff
okay.
did. There's a copy for me, there's a copy for you, there's a copy for the person.
Yeah, I don't even have Brady's phone number or email or anything though. So for what that's worth.
But yeah, even if Jeff sent it to you via email, he
Jeff-
left me a copy.
Jeff would email it to me and then text me and say, "Hey, I emailed you this." And but as far as the courtroom part, that's the update. I had it on my to-do list here of about 6 things to update on. First one being Carver, second one Franklin, small claims on Stanley, Kings, 48 West Park Avenue, Houston's, and that's everything I'm aware of anyway. So I mean, if he's citing anything else, I guess he'll get it to me. But yeah, my preference would be he'd email them to me instead of dropping them off at my office.
That way you get them sooner.
Yeah.
And did you talk to him? I thought he was going to be here tonight.
He texted me a minute ago, he just left Indianapolis. They called SWAT training in Indianapolis for him today, and he's been over since 8 a.m.
Just, I don't think I have his phone number.
Which, I mean, I understand that. I mean, but
He won't be here for
Yeah, I don't have Brady's phone number, so I did give him my email though. But he told me his preference would be to just drop him off in town when he's in town.
And I don't totally understand him not being technical, not very technically inclined. He's of that generation, that's all they had in front of their hands at the school, so I don't get that.
I mean, from my standpoint, he could snap a picture of it and
That's what
text
I was
it to
thinking,
me.
you could end up snapping, even got
And
an
I
app
just
for you to
print the
do a
picture and
scanner
say,
out.
Judge, this is what I got. And, but I wasn't going to tell him how to do his job. I didn't think that was my role, really. So, But yeah, so that's your update. You have 3 that are really open, and the other 2 are resolved, and then we have the small claims across the street. So, and the rest of our small claims, I think, have been resolved. So, to
If
my
not,
knowledge.
you'd be on Kathy's list.
Well, she'd tell me. She's good about that.
Yeah.
So, but I think we're good on small claims, to my knowledge, and there's
Yeah.
3 open ordinance violations that I'm aware of, as far as updates go. But yeah, I mean, if he could literally just text that to me if he wanted to, a picture of it, and I'd be okay with that. It doesn't have to be anything real official.
But we do have the official paperwork. We have a smooth,
It would, yeah, I do.
Sequence.
He gives me copies of it. It's just, I don't know how to frame it. It's slower than snail mail, I guess, is, like, as far as our process on that.
And
Where,
if he's not in town, if he doesn't go that way, then it's gonna be a while
Right.
before he goes to town.
which I understand, and, he works up there, and
Right.
we're down here, and, but yeah, my preference would be he'd just email me, and that he copy Kathy on the email so she has a copy of it. And I mean, I know he has that technology up there at his office, and
sure.
and probably at home also.
And I
He
have
has
a
it right
file.
here at this office too.
Yeah, so that would be the better route, because then she has a copy. She knows when I got my copy,
Right.
and but yeah, I don't think we've cited anything since June of last year, to my knowledge.
I was thinking, I remember seeing, because it'll say on the things if like an ordinance violation was issued, but
Yeah.
on his logs I get from the sheriff's office, but the last 2 that I paid didn't have anything about that. Must have been before that I remember seeing.
Anything
that.
else, Dale, on that topic? Good.
Strike that. We filed Carver and King in November.
Oh.
Those are the most recent ones. Okay, I haven't seen anything since November.
We're good. Darn,
Okay.
what else do you have for us?
Well, so we ran through a lot of my things. Let's see, Carver, Franklin, small claims, King, Park Avenue, Houston. This is not in my role as the attorney, but I am now the newest member for the Bloomingdale Youth Association, which Blair usually would come talk to you about.
Yeah.
I told them I'm going to be at your meetings anyway, so I might as well be the one that talks to you. They were hoping they might be able to get a couple more keys for the concession/bathroom. Before we had less people on our board, and now we have more people on our board, and so they're hoping they might be able to get 2 or 3 more keys to that.
I would bet, and not exaggerating, there's 20 keys out.
Okay.
What's happened is, prior to the Bransons or Blair taking over, the keys went out, but they never came back as they went on. We're fine. I mean, those are what they call high security keys. And the only place I know to get them is in Crawfordsville.
Okay.
But yes, I have no problem with that,
Okay.
us doing that. You can't take it to Ace and get that key made.
Yeah, and that's what they were saying. That
It's not a best series key.
I think we only have 2 keys, I guess is what I'm getting at for
Weren't you
Marshall.
look at trying to fix that one bathroom lock so it didn't lock automatically? Or is that gonna be a chore?
I never said I would look at it, but
Well,
I don't know how that can be done, yeah.
But anyway, that's the request.
I don't know what
was-
the lock place there in Cartersville, not Stockall, it's,
that one that did some stuff for us.
yeah.
I can't think of the
That's the
name.
place that has cut them before. Matter of fact, the last time they were cut, the youth association went behind their back and just took it up there. It
Well,
says right on the key,
I'm not going to
do not
that.
duplicate.
Yes,
And I
it's a risk.
said, how'd you get it duplicated? Well, we just took it up there and they made it.
Well, yeah, so we won't be doing that. So that's why I'm here asking
Yeah,
if we could have 3 more keys.
yeah.
But
That one's unduplicated.
I can tell you that I have a key to Bloomingdale's right here, and I don't intend to ever duplicate it, but I could.
Oh, that looks like one I made years ago.
So, but
Yes,
I-
but you need 3 more?
yes, we
Okay.
have a 6-person board now, and it had been a lot less.
Okay.
But Blair wasn't able to continue doing it, and it's hard to fill her shoes with 1 person. So,
Right.
the other thing, just kind of, this is a preliminary thing, but a long time ago or years past, they'd looked at getting lights at the ballparks. They weren't able to find funding for it. I think I can probably find funding for it. If I'm able to do that, we need permission from the town of Marshall and the town of Bloomingdale, if we're able to get funding for it, to install the lights, because it would be a utility thing inside the town. Is that something, and you guys own the land, so is that something, if I can find the funding to pay for it to be installed, and I can get RMC to install it, is that something you guys would be okay with? It would only be...
You can provide the funding for the purchase and installation?
Right, that's what I'm going to try to do. And I know that's a tall order, but if I'm able to do that, is that something that would be okay with the town? It'd just be for the lower field, not the higher field that's up by the church.
Okay, so I just
And
want
it'd be the
both
bigger
things.
field, and I don't think there's any houses that are real close to that. There might be one there on the corner, I think. But they're not going to be out there like late at night. It's going to be like start at 6, get down to 8 kind of thing if they do it. But they tried to do this years ago and had trouble finding the funding. So, but it's something when I came on the board, they had talked about that. I said I'm willing to try to find the funding. So, but the goal would be to do that for the big field at Bloomingdale and the big field here at Marshall. But the towns own the land, so you guys would actually own the lights.
Do you know would it be like an LED light?
I was going to talk to REMC because they did Rosedale's down at their ball fields, and it wasn't a full stadium setup. It was about 4 lights on each post, but it lit up enough that they played night games down there last year.
I know they've come a long way with those LEDs
Yeah,
for that kind of use. That'd be nice.
I reached out to Jeremy Montgomery, but he's no longer with REMC, so he directed me to Mike Jeffries, and I haven't talked to Mike yet. But I was going to have them give me a quote for what it would cost, and I was going to see about finding funding for it.
Okay.
So the request really would be to be allowed to put them in if we can find the funding. And you don't have to necessarily say yes or no today for that. It's just something,
I think personally, I think it would be a nice idea, because that just end up, and maybe the use would end up, and we can attract, you guys can then
We
maybe
have
have some kind of
tournaments.
tournaments
Right.
and stuff.
and we could increase our concession stand sales and things like that. And, but it would put the Turkey Run kids on the same level as Rosedale, Montezuma, Rockville, Clinton. Everybody that's playing their home fields have lights,
Right.
and Bloomingdale and Marshall don't. And it's mainly a funding issue. We're smaller towns than they are.
And we fought that back when I was involved in the youth association over there, and Marshall did too.
Yeah, but I told them I was willing to put forth the effort to do the legwork to try to find the funding, but they said I need to come talk to you guys, which I agree. And they're going to talk to somebody at Bloomingdale because I didn't know anybody over there, but to see what
We
they
told
said.
Blair when she came to our meeting initially, let us know what's needed,
All right.
and then we'll work to get that taken care of. And
Okay.
so she came back with, I know there was fence problems, and that's been taken care of. There was bleacher problems. We took care of that. Before she came on, REMC did a whole day over there, or maybe it's 2 days. So we felt like we were in pretty good shape.
Yeah, no,
But, we've changed the lights in the concession stand, but we need to know what needs to be.
sure. Yeah, and I think I'm pretty easy to be a go-through to
Yes.
that since I see you guys once a month at least. So, but this was kind of a bigger idea.
Sure.
And so I figured the sooner we express the interest to you guys, the better off we'd be. And we had a meeting last week, and that's when the idea was brought up. So, but again, not asking for anything at this time. Just kind of we're going to do some legwork and bring something to you if it's something feasible.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Well, I think it's well worth looking at. I do.
But those were the only 2 things that came up from them.
Okay.
And I didn't have anything else from a legal standpoint.
She was talking
unless-
about scoreboards to me last.
We didn't bring any of that up.
Okay.
Personally, I'd rather do the lights than the scoreboards. In all honesty, I think that changes things for the,
They put that scoreboard on that upper diamond,
yeah.
but I don't know anything about the controller or if it works or.
I've never seen it used,
I've never seen it used.
to be honest. But I'm not at the older kid games. My kid plays 8U, so he's up at the top field. And
And if it's no good, we might as well get it out of there.
I can ask that question.
Yeah, I don't know who knows that answer, but
Probably Phil Woods would be my guess. But
Yeah, they can check it out and make sure if it
Yeah.
works.
okay. But anyway, that's all I had. Unless you had questions on anything. I mean, mainly if it was an adamant no, we're not interested, I wasn't going to spend any time, but if you at least entertain the idea, then I'll put some effort into it.
Yeah. Sounds good. Oh,
Had a call last week from our IDEM drinking water inspector. He'd like to come over and do our sanitary survey every 3 years. So we've got it tentatively scheduled for next Tuesday,
okay.
10:30. I asked him if he really wanted it to be known that he spent Valentine's Day with me, but he said he'd do it, so you know. Went around a little bit, kind of looking things over, and the thing that dinged us last time was the firehouse backflow preventer.
It's gone.
But I didn't see any air gap apparatus on the hose to fill the tanker trucks.
That hose isn't connected, it's capped off. That's,
How about the hose that comes down to fill the
Right.
trucks? I mean, I thought we were gonna put an air connector or air gap.
I thought they were
Basket.
completely doing away with that fill up above.
The hose is still hanging there.
Okay,
So I'm sure it's gonna be asked because it was,
So I did have an air gap on before, hung from the
Didn't.
bottom, on that backflow preventer.
the backflow preventer is all encased in itself, but we normally don't use that from what I understand. We fill it from the overhead piping,
right,
and there's a,
and it's never ever used. That's why I thought they were gonna cap it off.
right now, the hose
It's
is
not.
still hanging there, yeah.
Okay.
I snuck in there yesterday and looked
Sure.
around.
Yeah. Okay, I know they were gonna put a cap on the lower outlet, but I can't
And
remember.
that looks good, I just wanna make sure we either have an air gap on there or we cap it off would be great.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
All right. The other question I've got is out in the pump house, when they took the old motor off a few years ago, that motor's still laying there in pieces. Are we gonna use that for spare parts or something, or can we just,
Well, what they did when that motor went down this last fall, wasn't it?
You know,
He tore that apart and pulled pieces off of there to try to make that work, and it wouldn't
Okay.
work. So I don't have any idea. I thought he was gonna junk it.
well, it kinda looks like it has been, but everything's still laying there in pieces.
Yeah,
And I mean, that's not a big thing, but just looks kinda.
because
nasty
we ended
over
up
there.
buying a new motor and
Yeah,
he put that
on
in,
there.
because it didn't work what he was gonna try to.
So maybe next time we have our cleanup marshal, we can
Throw it away.
throw away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it worth anything with all the copper that's in it, or is it much?
Yeah, that I,
Metal prices will went up.
Okay.
Is it?
yeah, how big a motor was it?
I don't know how many horse it was. I mean, it's a pretty good sized motor. Yeah.
that's it for me. We'll get with him on Tuesday and see what happens. And
Okay. I may not make it over to the firehouse, but I'll tell him it needs to be capped off.
that'd be great.
We just absolutely never use that.
And that's fine. It's just kind of hanging
Mhm.
there right now. That rubber hose.
Right, okay. So if the rubber hose wasn't there, that would be,
If that was capped off, then we'll say
Yeah.
we don't use it. We don't need it.
yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No, other than that, we're good.
Kathy?
Okay, year-end stuff. Pass those around, just so you guys can see. On Brady and I, on hours, I keep track of them. This way you guys do see what's going on all year long on hours for both of us, since we're not. Oh, am I short any?
There.
Yeah.
There you go.
And of course, I get my hours on Brady from Darla. I write mine down when I'm in there. We'll write down an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. So that's how I keep mine. So that I just want you guys to see these, so you have them, that you know that we both are accountable, which I know you know Brady's, but, and I file these every year with my payroll stuff that I put away each year. I put this along with, which I didn't do Jason and Kenny's, but I keep that in there too, if they ever would wanna come back on what we paid. And I've got split up, like, if they've done something for the town pays them, I put the town pays them and what I have for water. So yeah. So, that is that. Then, this is, you each get a whole paper clip, so don't separate it.
We are special. Okay,
Okay. If you go to the, I think it's the third one, it's the actual budget. I had to put it on 2 pages.
The third one you say, Kathy?
Yeah, the one that's paper clipped, or that's stapled. Should be the last one.
Yes, okay.
Okay, it's 2 pages. The first page is our general fund. The left-hand column is what we actually budgeted for the year, $63,900. The right-hand column is what we actually spent. So we're gonna get our hands slapped whenever and if ever I get audited. That was just for the general. Second page is basically the other side of it, is our rainy day, our motor vehicle, and our other things. We were under budget there, so that helped offset, so that helped a little bit, because we didn't spend any money out of our rainy day fund. And we didn't do anything in our capital outlays. So, just kind of overall, you guys can look at that. And then based off of that, all those numbers come from these 2 sheets. The waterworks is what my money coming in, going out, and by the same on town marshal.
so
Now-
the miscellaneous, R&M miscellaneous is what really put us over.
Yeah. And I meant to double check exactly what all that go down through here. And we've had repairs, that's mowing, and I need to revamp how we put things, because ours doesn't exactly match up with theirs. So they just have one lump sum, so I have to kind of pick and choose. Trash removal, I believe, goes in there. I meant to look and see exactly what all of our repairs were for the town. But part of that may have been, no, that would have been water. Because that overpack line wouldn't have been anything big. I had a $7,800 went out for UMAC in January of last year. What would we have done? Would that have been drainage, maybe over behind the park, if the bill would come in then?
In June
January.
or January?
And then there's one for $7,600 in June.
No, it's probably out here. Was it that water line?
So those are the 2 big, well, I paid them out of town. That had to do with town drainage,
Okay.
is what I would have had to do. So that was our big, yeah. And then, of course, then this year we're gonna have a big hit.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
But I mean, the good thing is we do have the money to cover it. It's just that they slap your hands and say, if for some reason they can't fund our budget, then you gotta make sure you got money to fund.
See, that's what I was gonna ask you, because you say you came in under budget, it shows right here $6,155.
So, and these numbers here that you're gonna see too, have to do with transferring funds around too, so these totals down here are a little bit higher.
Yes.
Because I transferred in and out, water in and out too, but yeah. But that doesn't go into here.
Right, but you said it's hopefully a pretty accurate town budget every year.
Yeah, we try
For
to, yeah.
expenditures and everything else.
Yeah.
And we came in under budget.
On,
As the total, is that right?
yeah. Let's see, we were under budget on, I call it my right-hand side. on my rainy day, my motor vehicle and all of that.
But we were over.
63, but we were over on our general.
On the general.
So it's kind of, it's almost washing itself
So
out. We're
wash this
okay,
wash then.
but our general is running higher than what we're budgeting.
Okay, that's my question.
Yes,
That's-
yeah,
yes.
we're $66,000 and we only budgeted 63.9
But we have money in the bank
in the bank to pay
to
for
pay
it.
for it.
But should we, for some reason, the government doesn't fund us in our 2024 budget, then we've got to come up with that money ourselves.
That's the other question I have.
Yeah, because I asked her one day, I said, what's the problem that we have money? And so that's when she explained that to me, that, you know, there's not always guarantee that you want to budget 63,000 for your general fund and they may only pay us 40 and we got to come up with the other 20. But that's on us, or else cut something out.
Right.
So I said, okay, I understand what you're saying. So,
Right.
but when you go down through and look at things, well, yeah, what do you give up? I mean, for us to cut, I mean, we pretty much cut now. But, and we're getting close on our payment to the bank on our note, so that helps. That's gonna get wiped off. And we are gonna start paying the fire protection, I think, pretty much out of public safety, so that helps. I'm pulling that out of the general, because that was in the general, so that helps.
The problem is the drainage is not gonna get any better.
Right.
That's why I said.
I mean, we spend more money each year towards drainage, and I don't see an end in sight with that.
Well, I don't either, Kevin, and you know, you kind of mentioned, I just saw, where I was Rockville, Clinton, how did I see that? They have a drainage
Drainage board.
tax per se, I guess I'll call it. They took a pretty good increase.
Yeah.
That's Rockville.
I
Yeah,
think it was Rockville.
that was that one code that everybody's complaining about there. If you ended up in Park County Charter, how did it all?
They had public meetings on it and advertising is in the paper and all kinds of other things.
The only people
Well, nobody ever shows up.
Apparently we
What
should have
happens.
posted on Park County Chatter, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, we've read post it there.
But,
That's a taxing board then?
No, that's through the utility.
Is it?
They did a rate study and the rates were not able to sustain their infrastructure. So then you do an increase to be able to sustain your infrastructure.
But with their drainage, isn't that hooked to their sewer though? With us, we don't have a sewer, so how we
Right.
do something with the drainage, we don't.
I mean, so you're not billing for drainage whatsoever, yeah, so, I mean, it just comes out of your general then, you don't have a utility to take it from.
well, that's right, we have nothing to,
Yeah.
That's why our
You have no
repairs
solution
are
there,
high.
I mean,
Yeah.
And there's legally, is there anything that we can? I mean, don't have any.
Not that I know off the top of my head, let me say that, okay? I can look and see if there's a
it'd
way.
be interesting to find out if that could happen, or some way to subsidize.
We had talked about that before.
We talked about it. The
Something
reason
kind
I
of
brought that up was, there was a house burned over there in that a month or so ago. That subdivision never had fire hydrants, because at that time, that subdivision wasn't required. But they had wells, city water, everything. And Sarah, used to be our postmaster over there, she lives down there on, what's the name of the street she lives on, Catherine, 1952 Clay Drive or something. Sarah Perry.
Oh, Clay Avenue down there?
Clay Avenue.
Yeah.
They have wells, but they have fire hydrants. Now,
Yeah.
Michael County's gonna make them hook up eventually, but they've had fire hydrants probably
And
15,
they're-
20 years.
And they're paying for sewage.
No,
That's what one gentleman told me, I think it was one of them over here. He has to pay sewage, but he has no town water.
they have no town water, but they got fire hydrants.
Okay.
And there's a charge on their tax base, you know, real estate taxes. They'll pay for that,
Mm-hmm.
because that was laid out before that was ever thought of, you know. Now they came back now with an ordinance that's going to require them to hook up the city water there. They help that. Then they'll come through the city sewer on that. So I think there's a way to do it, man. You know,
I'll have to go find it, I don't know it off the top of my head, but.
I mean, I'm not for wanting to pay another fee or anything. I'm not. But I'm like Kevin. I don't see that drain problem going away.
Oh, it's not. I mean, we can tell, like in our subdivision, I mean, there's water.
Yeah.
We don't have anything. I mean, the tiles are gradually, I mean, you guys are fixing what you can over where Todd's finding.
Yeah, luckily we've not had to bring equipment, so it's just Todd's
So
time and effort.
you're really talking
Well,
stormwater
and then you got
expense.
your pipe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, the expense
stormwater.
that you put out for
Right.
that.
Yeah.
and we haven't
So
had Matt
that's where I'm
Rose
just trying to look at
pull stuff out, and that was
stormwater boards
$300
and then what the
just for
alternatives,
that.
without having a stormwater board, what alternatives we have for
Right.
it then. Because Rockville does have a stormwater board also.
Yes.
So it may take me a little bit to find you a solution on that. It's not something that's really in my wheelhouse, I guess, to tell you.
Well, we had talked about it before, just, I was kind of let die, I think, but you know.
Yeah. It's probably a stormwater expense. I'm not on anything town utility wise, so I don't know what they're billing or not billing, but I know they have a stormwater board and it operates as a separate entity and it has its own revenue base. So, because they have money of their own to do stormwater things. So I guess I'll get more familiar with that and see if that's something we can do. Or at least have an option as to do.
Our issue is the drains have had almost nothing done to them for such a long time.
Oh,
They're just failing, and I don't know how we'll keep up financially, just like this drain down here. That was a very expensive project, and then we opened up two over here that needs to probably be replaced, but that's another huge.
that is huge.
So there's probably grant funding, I would assume, also that could be used that way. I don't know which, as far as which grant, Cindy Todd would know the answer to that probably though, or Steve Brock. But there might be some type of grant.
There was some kind of grant, but I didn't know if you could do both grants when you're trying to do something with the
They all
wastewater.
have crisscrossing. If you apply for this grant, you can't do this grant. And if you
Right,
do this
that's what I
grant,
didn't know if you could do that because you're looking at wastewater.
But that's really more of a Steve or Cindy thing to know the. I mean, they're going to know that off the top of their head. And but yeah, that might be another route if there's not a way to do it by some type of utility expense, maybe a grant to, or multiple grants over time.
But then we're in trouble with trying to match grants too.
Well, some of them are like 10%, some are 20%. So some, I mean, it's going to depend on what the project is,
Yeah.
obviously. But I really think we have to look at it expense-wise from a stormwater board viewpoint and see what our alternatives there are, would be my suggestion. And then possibly grants too.
But of course, the electricity went up a little bit this year, and insurance did go down that I just paid, so it went down about $300, so that's a plus. So hopefully maybe we'll see some others go down, so, and we may up these, want to up our budget for next year too, up some of our, because we kind of stayed mellow, so we may want to look at upping it too, for some of this. So, and I am just about ready to submit the annual financial report. Had some issues with how the previous person was putting in the SRF funds. And so now it's in a negative balance when it's really not a negative balance, and I can't just change the balance. So I've got to get someone to change it for me and explain to them why. So, and one of them shows the balance is owed and it's totally funded on that second one. So I've got to talk to him about that. But other than that, everything's ready to go in.
Are we not able to pay this drainage down here out of those ARP funds? Or is that a possibility? The time.
That, I thought we used to keep.
ARP funds
That-
for, so
That money that we got, that was supposed to be, that we was keeping back for wastewater, did we decide we was gonna pay for drainage out of that?
I'm never going to be the one that's going to remember what.
I think
We talked about that.
you looked that up on your
We
phone.
looked, and I thought we said we could maybe do that.
You did look it up when you saw what that money was available to use.
Yes.
And
it
you
could
thought
be.
maybe it might be.
I think I
But
answered the question that night,
Yeah,
but I
you
don't
did.
remember what the answer was. I guess I can go watch one of our videos.
Well, I mean,
So if we can, that would be if we can, because, yeah, we've got $41,000 in there of that much.
So I know it off the top of my head, it's infrastructure development, and I think that could be viewed
Yeah.
as infrastructure development.
Yeah,
So that'll help
Off the
there,
top of
then.
my head, that would be my answer, but if I researched it, whatever I said then would be the right
It
answer.
had to do with the infrastructure, because it would qualify for the infrastructure, is what it was.
That sounds right.
That's,
I think we need to look into that, using that money for that.
To answer your other question, just with a brief search, it looks like we might be able to address it through a stormwater user fee.
Stormwater usage.
A lot of these communities tack on a fee to the property owners for stormwater.
Right.
I don't know what the process to create that is, but that's I guess would be my short answer. Is it might be some type of stormwater user fee.
So there might be a little bit.
Problem is, you're gonna have to watch if you're gonna start tacking that on, and then down the road, you're gonna have wastewater.
Well, that's what we
mineral,
had talked about, but.
I know.
Kevin, there's
Raising
money
the
gotta
water
come from
rates.
somewhere, Kevin.
But Monroe County does it, Indy does it, Crawfordsville does it, Plainfield does it, City of Richmond does it, Town of Munster does it.
Right, but like I said, we don't wanna be hearing them boom, 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 I mean, the bad thing.
it'd be nice to see if we could end up and get some kind of a grant.
Right.
I mean, figure out which areas look like we kind of need to have something, just so we can maybe see if we get some kind of a grant money or something.
Which,
To try to fix some of these, and then we could end up and have a reason why we need to end up and put on for maintenance, that little taxing piece.
well, if you got $41,000 here, it's got a time frame. It's gotta be spent too. When's this money gotta be spent by?
About 2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's a
ARP money.
time frame. I forget now.
2 years.
ARP spending deadline.
Yeah, because I thought we were transferring that over to the water fund.
We did.
The ARP fund, yeah.
We did, but we could pay, I mean, I can pay it out of water account. That's no problem there. UMAC will just bill me and I pay it out of whatever account I wanna pay it out of. I mean, well, if it's town, I pay it out of town. If it's water, I pay it out of water. He just sends it to Marshall is what he does. He doesn't know who's paying it.
Yeah.
And they keep changing stuff so much that he can find it quicker than what I can on what they're changing.
Well, I don't wanna dig a hole on our drains so that we can't do anything else for the town, out of the town side. So we have got to look at being somewhat creative, and if that ARP money
Right.
allows us to
right.
be, then we
I
need.
know we were planning on taking it out of town money when we set it up because we were worried about it coming in last year.
So you must obligate the money by the end of 2024 and spend the money by the end of the year 2026 is what it says.
Oh,
That would be
That,
2
I thought it
years.
was quicker than that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they could change it since the last
So
one.
the end of next year, as far as obligating it for what you're going to do, and then you actually have to do it by 2026. The end of it.
So you put, I forget, what did you say, the $20,000 down
Do you remember what he quoted us down here on this drain?
20,000, wasn't it? 22,000? That
There
seems
goes
like
half
that
of
sticks
it.
in my mind.
here? That's what's sticking to my mind.
Yeah.
And I just had what the
Now, I could be
prices
wrong,
were.
but,
And then you tacked on that little bit that you did over there behind.
right.
But yeah, that would be a very good way to get to that money because for what you're doing with the wastewater stuff, sounds like you're gonna try and fund another way.
It says
So-
investment in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure is one of the main eligible uses of the funds. So,
Okay. Okay, so that helps there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but, I mean, yeah, but, well, if that's the case, then yeah, you would've had those two out of there from last year,
Right.
but yeah. Then that brings us to, well, here, I'll just go ahead, I had to switch some numbers around a little bit, but none, the totals didn't change, I just need you to re-sign that for the year. Had a couple things in the wrong accounts, but.
am I getting the keys, or one of you guys going to get the keys, or how's that work?
You know, I'm not sure what they're gonna require up there, if they need
I've
it.
never done that sort of thing.
I think maybe a letter from her.
Because I don't actually have a key that they could even copy. I know some of our board do, but
I have a key. Yeah. I would say just a letter from the town, just with, your signature, clerk treasurer, and then, I can take it to Carlsville or whomever.
Well, if you say he's gonna get them, you just want me to email it to him and he can take it with him?
it'd have to be somebody else on the board, or they'd have to give me. I don't have a key to Marshall's stuff.
Oh, yeah, you gotta have the key. Well, does Blair still have hers?
She gave it, and Brad Craycraft has it, I believe. He's on that board also.
Well, do you want me to just send the letter to you and you can get it to
If
whoever?
you get the
and
letter
get
to
the
me,
keys?
I'll get it to whoever can make the
Okay.
keys. Yeah.
That would be by the easiest, and that
Yeah.
way you keep your.
And you want
keys.
3 keys?
I would like to get 3 keys if
Okay,
that's
that's what I would
possible.
put in the letter.
Okay, for 3 sets.
Because I know we
3
have at
keys,
least
just-
2 sets, possibly 3 sets, but there's 6 people on the board. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's just a key, right?
yeah. Well, Blair has one and Phil has one, I think. Or Phil
Yeah.
Woods is the other one. And Blair gave hers to Brad.
Yeah. As hard as we tried to move a key to somebody else that we knew,
Oh,
and that lasted about 1 year.
Right.
We don't, I don't know where the keys are, but they don't show up in,
They
In the
never
wrong
did. When we
hands.
were there, they never showed back up. We'd show up.
Yeah, the Bloomingdale ones are just a standard regular key.
I went to Ace and made a bunch of those.
Yeah, so
we had a lot of vandalism with the old locks, and that's why we went to this Cloudtail to put these in,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't have a vandalism problem.
but yeah, if you get the letter to me,
Okay,
I'll make
I'll get
sure.
that done.
And
Okay.
you guys were okay with me dismissing the King's ordinance violation?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll get back with Kramer on his, and then I'll proceed with the other 3. So.
Okay.
All right, I just want to make sure I was on the same page.
What did my monthly thing come back to?
Sorry.
Oh, and here's the water adjustments for the month, which brings us to, you wanted to discuss what to do about Jackson's, which I already, so we have going forward with that leak.
Yeah, I brought up to Kathy, I said, there's really 2 things that we were talking about. If you have a leak, and the day you find it, if you go fix it, then we give you a credit as soon as you can. Well, the Jackson, nobody lives there, and if, like she said, if it hadn't been found by Overpex, it would have been at least 30 days.
I would have found it the next day.
Well,
But if it happened the
potentially,
next day, yeah, Overpex found it on Wednesday. But if they'd been there on Wednesday, and I read the meters on Thursday, and if it happened on Friday, it wouldn't have been found for another month.
Next month.
see, Jackson's bill was $509.79.
No, that's what I credited them off.
I understand, but that's what they would have.
That's what it would have been though.
No, it would have been $35 more on top of that.
Okay,
So plus, there's a $25 fee too, but yeah, I gave them a credit for $509.
but that was a very short-term leak.
Yeah,
From
probably
looking at
for 4 or 5 days is what we're guessing.
But if we would see that for 30 days,
111,000 gallons is what they should use.
so we've always tried to, help that homeowner, make sure that, if you're responsive, fine. We've had some people that it's gone on for months and months and months.
Oh, yeah.
And they just pay it.
Yeah.
But I can't see crediting somebody 30 days worth of water at that kind of amount, 111,000 gallons.
So let's talk about that then.
The problem,
Did they know they had the
no,
leak
now
out
see, the
there?
problem is, now I knew there was a problem.
Mhm.
But Kevin and I could have driven these streets forever and amen and never found that because we wouldn't have drove up to their house. So that's the other thing, nobody's there, nobody's checking on it on a regular basis, but they have the water on because they'll come in on the weekends every so often, so it's not like you can turn it off.
Right.
Because they do show up and stay there once in a blue moon, you'll see lights on that someone's there. And it's even managed by somebody in Ellettsville.
So I guess I'm a lot like Kevin. I'd have a hard time crediting
I
$539.
do too.
And see, that's our policy, so we can't not do it. I've already credited them because we can't not do it, because that's what we've done. But we've got to go going forward, we've got to know how to handle this.
It's almost like if somebody's not end up like some kind of a policy that if you don't live there permanently and it's a vacation home, how can you end up and be responsible if they have a leak? I mean, give them a credit like that if they're not there to check on it.
That isn't necessarily a written policy, that's something that we decided back, probably when Larry was on the board, or maybe before,
Yeah.
early on, and it was just decided that we're going to try to help them because they got right on it, they got a leak, they took care of it.
And I don't have a problem with that, Kevin. If they get right on it, just so you come to me and say, he got a leak, we noticed it yesterday, 2 days later, we got it fixed, I don't see a problem with
And
that.
as long as they're in good standing and they, you know, that I'm not constantly fighting them for, you know, money and
Yeah,
everything.
Walter
we
Elmer,
work-
of course, he's dead now. He swamped down, he never had a leak down there. Remember that, Kevin? He came, I don't know how many board meetings, and you weren't then on here then, but kept telling me he had to have a leak. Well, finally, they replaced that line. He had a leak.
Yeah, he got UMAC in there, they found the leak.
But they paid that bill every month, though.
I've had some that, yeah, I had one on the north end did that. I kept telling them she had a leak.
So we don't have a written policy. The thing is, we need to have an agreement on what we think needs to be done. Right now, Kathy and I talk about those situations. And like I said, it's aggravating when a homeowner is using 3 times the amount of water they should be. They don't care. They just keep paying their bill and going on. They're in good standing. But it's, why are you wasting water?
Right.
They're buying water.
Well, I mean,
I understand what you're gonna say. They have a right to use water.
you know, I mean, I suppose you can hook up your garden hose, your hose bib, and water your lawn all night too.
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to pay for it,
Yeah.
you know.
And some of them do.
And some of them do.
But yeah, going forward, we're going to have to come up with something to know in an instance like this, because we do have some homes that, there's one on the south end that they live in Indianapolis.
And this was shut off as soon as you found it, right?
As soon as I got the phone call, yes, we went and got it shut off.
But did they ask you? Because I thought people usually ask you if their water ran over. Like if we had a leak, will you give us a
But Overtech's
discount?
on the leak, right? You telling me?
The
When he-
homeowner
when
never
he
saw
called-
a bill. They didn't
When he
know.
called me, he asked me how that, he said, what happens here? So I never thought anything about it, I didn't think it was gonna be that much. And so I just told him, you know, we'll get it shut off, yeah, and then you get it fixed, and we'll give you a leak, you know, and get you a leak credit adjustment and everything, and just pay the minimum this time, that's what you always have. And so he said, well, we're gonna shut it off, and he said, we're not gonna fix it for a while with the cold weather and everything, but we'll get it fixed. Well, it's shut off, so that's no problem. So, you know, he was just right there and called, and, you know, the minute it happened, and the minute Overpex called,
Yeah, but 48 hours could have meant $1,000 or $1,500 credit, really
Yeah.
easily.
and then we have to pay that water bill to Bloomingdale.
Right. We're still out the money.
That's something for us to think about, how we can do that
Should
fairly.
be almost like a minimal of something. I mean, it's not our fault that they had that big of a leak.
I can send you Rockville's policy if you want, and you can look at it.
Yeah,
That would be good.
I don't remember what it is. I think there's a threshold that it's not to exceed a certain amount, but that's just my memory.
which is, it's probably the best way, not to exceed that.
And see,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing, is we would kind of average out what they've used over the last few months, and never be over what their normal bill would be.
Because if they lived there, they would have probably noticed something, like their water pressure in the house. There would have been
Yeah.
something that would have been like, they would have been calling you saying, hey.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we
Yeah.
figured it froze during Christmas.
I'll just email that to her and,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a solution or not, but they've addressed it in some manner, so.
Yeah, I'm like Kevin, there needs to be some type of resolution there.
You go on vacation,
The handle.
it could be your house,
Mhm.
line busts under your house and goes into a tile that's under there.
I shut my water off when
Yeah.
I do.
At a certain point, though, if you're not checking your property regularly, that's your own risk.
True, true.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe you look at you don't give credits, I don't know.
Yeah.
You had a leak, that's your problem for not
As we know,
maintaining
there's
it.
some people don't care about their property.
So, and, oh, what was you out?
Well, we're talking about almost $800 in leak credit.
Oh,
How much?
Almost $800 in total for 3 different leaks.
you also, oh,
For Jason,
Pearson's and you also had-
Crowder and Ryan, I don't see Pearson on there.
Oh, maybe Pearson's on
Oh, wait a minute, yeah.
there? Oh, yeah, and Crowder's was right on theirs immediately. She
Dwayne
was-
Pearson,
I'm gonna say, if they get on within
She had
You
it,
don't
and they didn't
need to
get it
say.
fixed the first time, just
a
in
short amount of time, you know, I really don't have a problem giving a little bit of credit there, but when it's just blatantly, you know, ignored.
Yeah, she called, yeah, which Kitty had seen it the second time that they didn't get it fixed. She said, have you heard from him? I said, no. And as soon as she got home from work, she called me. But see, I couldn't do anything until she, you know,
Well, let's wait until we get to
Okay.
that policy, take a look at it and see how
See, go
we
from
want
there.
to proceed
okay.
with that. I mean, we're not required to do anything.
Right.
I mean, if it goes through your meter, I guess you could be responsible, but that wasn't the right thing to do, we didn't
Right.
think.
Try to help them if at all possible.
Well, be fair about it. You know.
Right, and that's what we try to be, so. And then here is our January. Starting off the first of the year.
You need this initial on those?
Yeah. We have new funds in there now from the opioid stuff that we're gonna be getting, and I guess, here again, Nick, you may be able to read more than what I can. I think we're gonna have to get the fire department.
For what?
That-
Sorry, I was researching something.
That opioid money,
So,
because we as a town are not doing anything to
right,
prevent. And I figured the fire department for the rescue squad would have things that they would need or.
that has governance too. I do have that information because I just did it for the county.
Which
Now I just gotta
Different.
remember where that email is.
different ones have said that they're just gonna wait until they get a large sum, others said they're just gonna pass it on as they get it. But
I
they're
mean-
talking about setting up classes but we're not.
I'm gonna send you the link to the website that has all the information on what it can be used
Okay.
for. I know the county's having a local area, or not local area plan, they're having one of their boards that regularly deals with substance abuse.
And see, we don't have anything like that, so
Right.
that's why I did see one of them said that they were gonna pass it on to their rescue squad EMTs that they had in theirs, and I thought that would be
Yeah, the fire department's probably the closest you're
Oh, a lot
gonna
of money.
get.
$409, and right now is what I've gotten. Then mine said unrestricted. Some of them said they got restricted money and unrestricted, but I didn't get any restricted
And
money.
then
Mine specifically said right
the
on there.
county got restricted and unrestricted.
Mine said it was what I had on there, because I went back and looked to see, because my MVH, my motor vehicle comes as one, and I have to split it up. This said unrestricted on it.
Let me find where I said,
Okay.
see, Dan,
And here's our gallons that we used to for the month.
G recovery settlement. Yeah, here it
Still
is.
running a tad bit high. But
I'm-
Pearson's is-
I'm gonna forward this link to you. It takes you to the homepage website for the opiate stuff, and on it, there's a link to what the uses can be,
Okay,
what the
because
permitted
I've
uses
just gotten
are.
very little right now, and they're conflicting back and forth on what I've gotten. And some of them said they were trying to get out of it, they didn't want to mess with it.
Town of Marshall at Gmail.
Yes.
Here it comes.
And there is a leak at the Franklin house. She had me turn her water off today, which I knew she's had a leak, because I've been circling it for the last, ever since she turned it back on and before that. So,
No credit.
no, no,
Do they live there?
yeah, they got electricity now.
And water over electricity.
And then I gave
No wonder
Tom.
you'd have a leak if you didn't have electricity, no heat.
They have electricity now, they're still using it. I gave Tom a copy of this. I got this from Steve Brock, and I'm starting to file. So hopefully, I mean, if we have to go through and,
An inventory.
yeah,
Didn't you talk about that, the lead inventory?
that,
Talked about it.
that, yeah, nothing's been,
I was going through my notes, back in 2016, we had to go through and basically say none of the town lines were lead.
Right.
And, you know, we verified that. Now they're, you know, going a lot farther and saying,
Going
well, you
deeper
know,
into it.
how about going from the meter to the person's house?
This is saying assemble paper records.
But
There's a guy that solicited Rockville that was going to compile information
That's
from
right,
them.
and I heard somebody.
I don't remember the guy's name, but Rockville has that information. They're soliciting a lot of towns. They probably just haven't gotten to us yet. But
And I got
That's
that,
a company that's doing it, that
yeah,
120 water is,
and I got that one paper to sign up for any problems down the road, which I got a bunch of paperwork from. Now I gotta sign up and fill out.
I don't know what the cost is, but can you do a test on each household, a water sample, and come back with no copper and lead? I know it might be expensive, but this would be expensive, I'm sure, this company.
I don't know if, at that time, yeah, there'd be no lead or copper, but does that verify that the piping isn't lead or copper?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea if it works, but I don't know if that,
But I know those lead and copper tests are more expensive than,
yeah, I mean, we run those every 3 years.
yeah. But how else do you verify?
That's part of what they put in there, you know, you dig up the lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
At what?
Or is it just a long-term process where if they have a leak and you dig it up, then you have this chart that says, hey, this house is good, it doesn't have any lead or copper. I mean, and then every 3 years or whatever the requirement's gonna be is you have to have a report say, hey, these we know have no lead and copper, these are still unknown.
Right.
I mean, it's,
so those people put together a database, but they won't actually go out there for you and discover whether or not you have copper or don't have copper. It's a database that they put the information into, is what they're trying to sell you.
So is it our responsibility from the meter to the house to verify that? Or is it our responsibility all the way up through the faucet?
that's an excellent question, and I'm trying to find that out myself.
Because I don't know how you would ever find, unless you crawl under the house and look at those lines. That would be,
If you're in a big city, like even Crawfordsville, or even Rockville go through every
Supposedly,
house.
there's going to be a funding mechanism that comes down through the federal government to fund doing this,
Yeah.
but they haven't created the mechanism yet. So they're just saying, we're going to make you do this, but they haven't said how they're going to help us do this.
and then if you find it, there's gotta be some remediation of it. What's that gonna cost?
They haven't even created that plan
Right.
yet.
So
So
here's sampling and treatment.
But I keep hearing that there's gonna be all kinds of money to,
yeah,
if there are problems, to fix it.
that's what these guys will tell you too if you talk to them.
Yeah,
And rightly so, it needs to be fixed if you can identify it, but tell us how to identify it.
and that's the unknown right now.
So I'm gonna start a file.
Yeah. Because it's not going away.
No.
Well, they even talk about having a file for each location, and once you verify that there isn't any lead or copper, that's fine, but you still have this long list of people that haven't been verified yet.
Correct.
And then on, like I say, on a
And
three-year
if it's
basis.
not verified they don't, then they're considered to have lead or copper.
Right.
That's the way I understood from talking to Dylan.
So it's still being formulated and moved forward, but
Right, okay. Well,
there's some big questions out there right now, yeah.
And you know that means you can't go anywhere for a long time.
That's right.
what else, Kathy?
I think that's it. Like I said, our insurance went down. That was a good thing.
Close.
So
Great.
did the workers' comp audit too. So we'll wait to hear back from that.
All right. Well, thank you. No one else has anything, we'll adjourn. Good. Thank you.